Welcome to 3 on 1 Podcast. I'm Bryce Davis. That's Garrett Campbell.
I just got Mike's hard lemonade all over me.
Ooh, and our wonderful special guest, Caleb Beaird.
Woo!
What's up, guys?
All the way from Hobbs.
All the
and
way.
Today we're going to be doing something a little different, and we're going to do a kind of just a quick overview of like the entire MCU because Caleb, as we always let the guest pick, Caleb is a massive MCU fan.
Oh yeah.
Big Mark.
Big Mark.
Okay, so let's just kind of start it all the way back in 2008 when the first Iron Man came out.
You and I, Bryce, saw that for my birthday.
Holy shit.
Yep.
I didn't even fucking remember that. That's not even the whiskey. I just didn't remember that.
Yeah, there was a while where we would go see the new Marvel movie every year for my birthday because it came out around the same time in May every year.
Fair. And Iron Man was right around that same time when I saw, like, The Losers and Transformers and shit. I saw all those movies, like, 3 or 4 times. But so Iron Man, definitely, both from a storyline standpoint and a movie standpoint, was, like, probably the best fucking way to start it. Like, because Iron Man was so cool, and, like, especially in the era of, Dark Knight wasn't even out yet. Just Batman Begins.
Just Batman Begins, yeah.
And
Dark Knight came out in 2008, I believe. I don't know if it came out before or after Iron Man in the year, but it was the same year, I believe. Maybe 2009.
Oh yeah, because wasn't Batman Begins like 2005?
Batman Begins was definitely early 2000s, for sure.
It was a year after Spider-Man 3.
That probably was. Let's see. Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, he's right. 2008. So,
Okay, cool.
definitely in a year with that, there's such good companion films because there's such like a real, pretty raw take on a familiar comic book. Like, 'cause I've always been a big fan of comic books. I've played Ultimate Alliance and all that shit. So, like, read comics. So, I've been aware of all these characters. I've seen the cartoons and all that shit. So, but to really, with Dark Knight and this, really brought it into the modern perspective because, like, Iron Man fights in, like, modern warfare.
Yeah.
Shit.
Fights terrorists, basically.
Crazy. I know that opening scene of him when their convoy just gets nuked out of nowhere is still like crazy.
I really do love how unapologetic Iron Man was, though, with, like, he kills people.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he shoots people,
Definitely.
blows up
Yeah.
tanks, like, punches people to death and shit. And I get it. It's a good... We're not going to start talking about DC, but the DC whole, like, real superheroes versus real supervillains, they're only fighting the villain, really, whereas Iron Man started it in a kind of bigger spectrum villain thing.
Yeah.
Which would lead to a giant spectrum of villain much later on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So-
that scene where he's kind of getting revenge on all the generic terrorists.
Oh, when he's just murking them when he
yeah.
builds the first Iron Man
Dude.
tank suit.
No, I'm thinking later on in the movie
That
where
third version, right? That's when you're talking about?
Yeah.
The first red suit?
yeah.
Oh, when he has the fucking missile thing on his shoulder.
There's all the terrorists like holding the village people hostage, and he just like turns off his fucking hand blaster thing
And just nay-nays on all those fools.
They just go fucking nay-nay. It's badass.
To me, like the CG that they use on that suit, because I don't know if they use more practical effects in that, but for whatever reason, the way that suit looks in the final cut of that movie is better than any other suit that they put on him in a movie after that.
Yeah, I would definitely
looks the
say
best.
by the time we got to the later films, it's pretty gimmicky and CGI.
Yeah.
You could see like they put a lot of detail like in the mask. You could see
Oh yeah.
they kind of put like a handprint almost as like, because I mean metal, if you were actually assembling a suit, like you would have streaks of like handprints and stuff while you were assembling it. So like they put a lot of like
there was
thought
like
and detail
creases
into it.
and everything.
It makes
like,
more sense for
you
it
can
to be more detailed in those first couple movies.
Exact- and
because later on he's like, oh, there's nanobot technology.
Yeah, he gets
underneath
the
my
special
skin.
kind of metals
Yeah.
and shit, whereas that was just
That's
pieces
just
of metal
steel.
pressed to each
Yeah.
other. But yeah, so, I mean, we all agree, absolutely. Iron Man, the original,
Oh, it's badass.
phenomenal fucking movie.
Crazy
Like,
good.
It's great.
could not have started more, and then... Let it be known we are looking at a list in chronological order of the MCU movies, and what comes next is Edward Norton Hulk.
See, I never saw that one.
Wasn't great.
No, it's super forgettable. Like,
I didn't even know that it was part of the MCU.
Yeah, that's
it
crazy.
It was kind of shoehorned in. Like they just happened to be making it at the time, and I don't know if it was Feige, but somebody approached Universal and they were like, "Hey, like we're thinking about doing this," like, and it was only shoehorned in there at the very end with Robert Downey Jr. doing that post-credit scene. Like nothing else was originally intended to be in the MCU.
Yeah, because it's not like Abomination or the character that becomes Abomination is ever mentioned or anything in any other film, because the Hulk never has another Hulk film besides when you get to Thor Ragnarok. It's the only thing that's like really Hulk intensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess strictly as a showing you who the Hulk is, he whoops some fucking ass in that movie.
Yeah, it tells you kind of what the Hulk's about if somebody didn't know what the Hulk was.
Yeah, as if the Hulk's not like one of like the main 5 fucking Avengers. But super forgettable movie. We'll kind of just skip over that one because all it does is show you who the Hulk is. And then already 2 years later, you have the Iron Man 2, which super divisive. Some people despise.
Yeah. I love it.
I really like how they're abusing unexistent technology.
Yeah, it's
and how he has like a whip that turns off Iron Man's suit and shit.
Because if you think about it, like if Iron Man were to be created, like people would 100% try and replicate it, just like people tried to replicate cinematic universes after the MCU.
Absolutely. DC tries to construct something and just so happens to make a million movies that fucking suck.
I love the villain.
Mickey Rourke plays the Russian monster so well, because Mickey Rourke in every movie he's in doesn't say much, and this guy doesn't say a lot, but he just looks like he's like an old Russian man ready to beat everybody's ass. And you do have Black Widow's introduction sequence, because she's like a female companion at the beginning of the film, and then you have when she saves him, it just beats the living fuck out of a bunch of CIA
20 unfaced people.
Which
the last dude comes up, she just pepper sprays
which
his ass.
I will have some divisive opinions about Black Widow, but that doesn't come later, because right now she's just beating normal CIA dude's ass, and she's like a Russian super trained assassin person.
Yeah.
But she should be able to beat any person's ass.
Absolutely. Any normal human, for sure.
And correct that what's his name?
Happy Hogan.
Guy Pearce's character, that's in the third, right? That guy's not introduced yet.
Guy Pearce.
Who becomes the villain in number 3.
The Mandarin?
The Mandarin, who's actually Guy Pearce.
You're talking about the one with like the long-haired dude?
No, because you have Mickey Rourke, and then you have Guy Pearce, who's like the fancy dude who steals.
Oh, you're talking about Justin Hammer.
Justin Hammer,
Yeah.
Is he in this one?
Oh, yeah.
He's in the second one.
Yeah, but nobody knows who he is yet, but it's like pretty clear that the real villain.
He employs Mickey Rourke, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
He hires him to build the iron whatever they call it.
He's trying to make like the drone army to sell to the army so he can get his paycheck.
That actually happens later, but yeah, that's right. He's who's.
I thought you were talking about the fancy dude in Winter Soldier, who's like who runs Shield.
Oh fuck no! But
yeah.
Okay, not to get off track, but so Iron Man 2, just great.
I love
Pretty, one of the more, just like Iron Man 1, one of the really standalone movies.
Yeah.
Doesn't really need any precursoral knowledge.
The only like setup it does for any movie after that is just introducing Black Widow. I can't think of any other like consequences from that movie that carry on.
Yeah, besides movies. Justin Hammer, you just seeing who that is. Like,
yeah.
Well, he's not. Well, you never see Justin Hammer again.
No.
And then then comes Thor.
I love Thor.
I am gonna have strict opinions about this that I should talk about in later movies, but Thor the first movie is pretty good. I like the beginning little while where he doesn't even fucking know who he is.
Yeah, he's just a bumbling giant idiot in the middle of random ass small town New Mexico.
With Natalie Portman, who fucking hates the shit out of Chris Hemsworth so much.
She was...
And Kat Dennings, bro. I love Kat Dennings. Which Skarsgård is it? Is it Stellan Skarsgård?
Stellan, what the fuck?
Who?
The guy that plays the
Like their dad?
no, the scientist dude.
Like Natalie Portman's kind of like father figure type person
Fuck.
thing.
He's one of the Skarsgård.
I don't know his name.
That might be his fucking
he's
name.
the
I don't know.
father of the Skarsgård.
Like Skarsgård is in the dude he plays in It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's like their dad or something.
Sure his name's Stellan.
Really?
Maybe.
Pretty sure. I don't fucking know. There's like 4 of them.
I just know that like
A rare instance of Bryce Davis not knowing what the fuck you're talking about.
I feel like if you really hate Dutch angles, you just can't like Thor. They overuse Dutch angles so much.
Fair enough.
Every other scene, man.
Thor is pretty fucking brutal to watch, but Thor does introduce us to Thor, obviously, but also brings in Loki
And Hawkeye.
And Hawkeye.
Oh, I forgot about Hawkeye. Yes, I will have.
It's not even named, but he's just
he's just a dude with a bow and like half a scene.
He's a guy who had the opportunity to grab a gun, but then decided to grab a bow.
Instead, yeah.
And doesn't even shoot it.
I'll talk about that in a little fucking while. But yeah, no, Thor, pretty good introductory movie. Doesn't really get too far into anything. Just
kind of awakens you to the idea that there's
that there is
other stuff.
But at the time, though, I don't think anybody still really knew that it was possible to rope all this in together. Because, I mean, at the same time, like, you had this Thor movie that was just so out there.
Yeah, because this is like, what, 2010?
Yeah, and then, but, like, to try and think, like, in your head at the time that this was going to somehow tie into an Iron Man movie, like, I don't think that anybody really still knew that was possible.
Yeah, I sure didn't. I just knew that those were characters in Ultimate Alliance.
It still felt like a standalone movie at that time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because we all just knew that these were Marvel movies with familiar characters. Nobody quite knew yet that this was leading to the Avengers and everything it led to.
Yeah.
And especially with you have Thor in a universe of gods and shit, whereas you have Iron Man fighting real life terrorist organizations and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Thor, great, absolutely. And then we move into one of my favorites, the first Captain America. Captain America, the first Avenger.
Good ass movie.
Man, the Red Skull is one of the most underrated fucking villains. He's so great. He's like just a straight up ass Nazi the whole time.
The most Nazi.
I love you giving. They don't change anything and they just give Captain America the most American backstory of he's just whooping Nazi ass.
Yep. Just pretty fucking cool.
Anybody on Earth already likes Captain America because he's just killing a bunch of Nazis, hitting them with a shield, where it's kind of scandalous how many people he kills, because he kills a lot of fucking people.
Not as many as he kills in the second movie.
There are a lot of bodies in
They're not people. They're Nazis.
True.
Backed. But in the one coming later, they're not Nazis. They're people.
They're just Hydra.
So, kind of like an interesting like fact of like the I don't know if they directed or wrote, but Stephen Marcus and McFeely, they wrote Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. Mm-hmm. They had, before Captain America had come out, they had kind of like talked to themselves, like kind of thinking, because comic books were huge in the 1940s, whatever.
Yeah.
They were thinking like somebody really should do like a time piece, like a back in the past setting movie of comic books in the time where they were created. And that was kind of like, I think part of the reason why they got brought on to do Captain America, the first one.
Yeah.
Because they were so intrigued by the idea of having a comic book movie that took place back in the idea of comic books and how they could make that work in the modern day. And so that's just like one of the coolest parts of that movie, is it really reflects like the golden age of comics idea of Captain America.
Yeah.
And then also includes kind of what a modern day take would look like. They were able to balance that in that movie by having that whole montage of him on the stage being the propaganda. Which is exactly what he was in the 1940s. Oh, yeah. He was propaganda to try and just rally people up for World War II.
He was a picture of what he is in the film, like the ultimate American beats all the fucking Nazi ass.
Super cool.
And then you have to have the sneaky Nazi scientist as the villain, who's actually a badass fighter who isn't that badass when it comes down to it in this film. He kind of just gets his ass whooped real quick.
It's true.
Oh yeah.
It's just
He becomes someone else.
It's just Wolfenstein the comic book.
Yeah.
This fucking movie. He just kills a bunch of weird scientist Nazis. But this is the first kind of tiny glimpse into the broad picture. Because this is Hydra. This is the original Hydra.
And we have the first Infinity Stone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about that.
That's like the opening scene.
The first glimpse into what is going to be this super powerful thing that connects it all. You barely get the seeds. 3 years after after it starts. When, I mean, I'm sure it was all written with the grand scheme.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had the rough outline.
But nobody could really see that they were gonna do it.
Nobody
until this movie.
No audience member, no theater goer for sure.
Yeah, no way.
Unless
I definitely didn't.
Unless you have read Civil War or Infinity War the comic.
Yeah.
You didn't know what was coming quite yet.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And that movie absolutely
the ending of the first Captain America ends on such a haunting note. I don't know if y'all remember, but I think the last line of the movie is after he wakes up and he freaks out, realizes he's been sleeping for 70 years. Nick Fury asks him, he's like, "Are you gonna be okay?" And then he kind of thinks, and you can see in his face, he's like, "Yeah, I had a date." And it just cuts to black after that, man. It's such a chilling thing, man.
Literally no one would have ever known that leads to
So
the
fucking
hugest,
good, man.
most important part of one of the most important storylines of the entire fucking holy shit 11-year storyline. That tiny little quote has repercussions 8 years later, which is so awesome. But so then
I'm getting sad thinking about that scene you're talking about.
It's so chilling, man.
Then we move on to Avengers, which was
fucking good.
As soon as they announced that movie, every person who had anything to do with comics knew what was coming now.
And no one saw it coming, but as soon as it got put in anybody's head, you were like,
as soon as you saw
I need
that,
to see this now. Yeah.
As soon as you
that movie 8 times.
It's so good, man.
Jeez, I didn't even see it in theater. I actually somehow, I don't know what period of my life this would be, but I didn't see this movie in theaters. I probably didn't see that movie until after I saw Age of Ultron. Because I
never saw Age of Ultron.
This was in the period where I didn't particularly care for the superhero movies. I was being an edgy little teenager, didn't want to watch this shit. But I mean, this is awesome. That does have the coolest scene that is mentioned many times throughout.
That camera shot.
When they're all fighting is awesome.
Yes.
When Hulk just beats the living shit out of Loki. That's so awesome.
You be God.
And that has repercussions. 6 years later,
it's called back on later.
So many times.
My first ever real life big boy date was to that movie.
See, this is the movie where I kind of started to get pissed off, and it did it in Age of Ultron, which made me want to watch this. Was I kind of hate that Black Widow and Hawkeye are such crucial fighting parts when this is a person with no powers. Both of those are just trained assassins fighting fucking aliens. Four-armed motherfuckers that look like Goro from fucking Mortal Kombat. And somehow they're fist fighting while gunfighting and bow fighting. Fucking big old monster motherfuckers, which that didn't really piss me off until way later. But this one, it's really just a person with a gun, and you shoot an alien in the head with a gun. We've played video games. They die. We've played Halo.
Oh yeah.
Guns kill aliens.
I think the whole point of having them kind of being so involved in the story is just to kind of give the audience a window. I mean, that's kind of the audience's way into it. Is when you have Tony Stark, which who can relate to Tony Stark? Who can relate to Thor?
Nobody has.
I think that was the whole reason of that.
Industrialized weapons technology, and nobody's a god.
Hawkeye and Black Widow are definitely the most
human.
So I think that's the whole.
They are the Batman in this universe where they're just humans who can somehow, through equalizers like guns and bow and arrows that have technological advancement, where they can shoot the electric arrow to knock down the spaceships and shit.
The way that he was able to pick the different arrowheads is really cool.
Yeah.
The controller on his wrist. It's all on the quiver. It's pretty cool.
It's barely mentioned, but like how when they're supposed to kind of have like the Spidey sense.
Yeah.
Like they're like so much smarter. And that's like their only power, kind of.
Yeah.
Is that got that little. Every normal human has a little Peter tingle. It's like, you need to pull out the explosive arrow, or you need a Black Widow. You need a ninja kick that fucking monster right in his jaw.
Black Widow makes
that
Peter tingle.
that shot. That shot you're talking about though, Garrett, where he pulls that arrow and he shoots at Loki and Loki catches it.
That's
like
so
I don't know
cool.
how they filmed that, man. That's crazy. That the way that because the camera follows his arrow right into Loki's hand.
Yep, and he just
that's
looks
so
at
crazy.
it and it just fucking blows up.
All I can think is that the scenes were filmed differently, but definitely somebody had to have like thrown an arrow that Loki had to catch. Tom Hiddleston had to physically catch an arrow for that scene, which is badass as shit. Tom Hiddleston's badass for that, but and this does sow the seeds, especially throughout when you kind of have the little Thor part with Loki, of whether or not Loki is truly the bad guy. Because in this movie, it does make it seem for a good while that Loki is who brought the monsters. But I mean, we'll learn.
I just love how it's never directly explained that Loki didn't die. Like, I mean, he was obviously he died at the end of Thor, right? I mean, I guess he was in the end credit scene, so he was never actually dead, I guess. But like to this day, they never really explained like in detail what happened to him.
It is never acknowledged that in the gods, in the Thor god realm, like literally, if Thor or Tom Hiddleston die on Earth, they just go back to Valhalla. Yeah. Because they just die, but Valhalla is heaven, and they're the gods, so they don't die. So it is kind of murky, and it is kind of stupid, and weird, you can't address it. Because if you did address it, you'd have to somehow explain something unexplainable.
Then you have to follow the rules, and then you have to break the rules.
Nobody wants to hear the logistics of life and death in God realm.
The less you say is the better sometimes.
Exactly,
but okay.
Dude, I watched Avengers, I can't tell you how many times. I remember being in 7th grade. They would just put it on like every day, it seemed it felt like, in like this one PLC class. I mean,
that's badass.
I never got tired of it.
I mean, it's great. But
I went in 8th grade with my freshman in high school girlfriend.
Oh,
that
man.
movie was badass.
Did you hold hands?
Fuck yeah. Dude, we held hands right when fucking Back in Black came on.
You walked right in, sat down, held that girl's hand.
I forgot about
held
that.
Held the fuck out of it.
I almost forgot that scene where the old man kind of references Hitler, like or he says the last time we don't bow to men like you. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
References Hitler in some way because they were in Germany at the time. Said the last.
Cool.
Maybe it was Captain America.
Maybe they're talking about the Red Skull leading Hydra, because no one says Nazi in this whole universe.
Only say Hydra.
And you're kind of led to believe that Nazis don't exist and only Hydra exists. Which, okay, this is controversial. Nazis would be maybe a little bit cooler, because they're not cool at all. 0% cool. But the Hydra symbol, that's hard.
Dude, I forgot to bring that up in the Captain America, but that shot at the kind of like the intro of Captain America, where Schmidt, the Red Skull, gets the cube. Yeah. He shoots somebody that was like guarding it or whatever, and as he shoots him, the blood spatter from that dude lands on his Hydra like pin, and like covers half of it in blood. Such a cool shot, man.
So now Avengers ends, and that is officially the beginning of...
That's the end of Phase 1.
And then Phase 2 comes in with arguably the most divisive MCU movie, Iron Man 3. Because if you look at lists of best and worst, this is always bottom 5 on anybody's list, which I don't particularly agree with, but...
It's definitely not one of the worst.
I just think it went in such a strange direction for people. Like it doesn't really follow any continuity to anything except for the fact that Iron Man has PTSD now after the Avengers.
Yeah, now it's
just such a strange direction.
Now you're seeing the big picture of Iron Man's actions and
this
stuff.
was the one that opened with Black Widow and Captain America on that boat, right?
No, this one opens with.
Oh, that was Winter Soldier.
No, this opens with the big presentation at Harvard where they're showing the
brain. And
shit.
No, that's Civil War. This opens with this is like Tony Stark's like narrating, and he talks about like making demons or something.
Yeah, and he does
there's like a party in the 90s where it shows that he made an enemy that night. Yeah,
that shows that he meets what was
Killian, Aldrich Killian, the guy who eventually goes on to be the villain of the movie.
Yep,
the real Mandarin or whatever. So to kind of go in on it, I do hate that they had to put into the MCU a huge bait and switch. Like, I hate the Mandarin storyline. Don't get me wrong. That it's just I can't even think of that guy's name right now.
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley.
I love
not really being a villain, but just being a tiny little man in a room.
Drunk ass man.
Like, and then you do kind of have.
They did retcon it at the end. They did eventually retcon it to say that there is a real Mandarin out there. Yeah. But I mean, by then it was already too late. The damage was done.
Fuck yeah. Because then you have the... So, one of the things I really despise about that movie, though, is that... What'd you say his name? Killian... Whatever.
Aldrich Killian, yeah.
Aldrich Killian. I hate how Killian has, like, man-made powers.
Yeah. Because doesn't he like mutate himself or something?
Yeah, he has like fire powers.
He makes like a serum and then it gives him powers. Yeah.
And
I mean, it follows the same sort of logic as the superhero or the super soldier serum.
Yeah,
Captain America has.
But Captain America, other than being strong as fuck,
he
doesn't have like logic defying shit. Like it's basically Captain America shit is like the logic of if you pumped a bunch of adrenaline mixed with PCP into somebody, you could shoot him like 4 times. He'll die later, but he's gonna beat your ass right now.
He doesn't give a fuck.
But it doesn't make him turn into like where he can like melt Iron Man suits and like punch through the animated. That part. Okay, maybe this movie sucks because it does have the army of animate. Suits that come.
The AI.
And I mean, I know that it needed to exist to fight the mechs that this guy makes, but I hate that part. And like how easy they are to dispatch when like they're like the same thing as Iron Man. There's just not a guy. There's not a smart dude in it.
I mean, it makes a little it makes sense that they're easy to like take out because there's not a human in there making all the decisions.
It definitely...
But they should not have been able to be taken out that easily.
It definitely feels like they wrote that last sequence and then built the movie around it.
Yeah. Like, it'd be...
Because don't get me wrong, that fight is cool. But I do hate that it's just Guy Pearce melting and like punching with fire hands through the suits and shit. But, I mean, the movie probably wouldn't have been as cool if you didn't have like the big mech fights and you didn't have... Iron Man and War Machine back to back, just murdering all those fucking people.
That's Iron Man 2.
What?
That's Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Fuck. What?
War Machine isn't in this, is he?
No.
I think he's in the movie, but
the scene that he's in there as Rhodey.
Yeah, he's not in there.
The scene that you're thinking about when they're back to back in that little garden area. Yeah, that's Iron Man 2.
Oh, then this movie blows dick. Okay, I take it all back. Iron Man 3 sucks because I was confused.
That whole fucking like second act where he's just in Minnesota for like an hour.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Like a little kid has to help him through shit. But
so fucking weird.
Also, this is the movie that does the huge bullshit where they pull the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air shit where they just decide that Terrence Howard is now Don Cheadle.
No, that was
Iron Man 2.
Oh my god, dude. This movie...
You know the reason?
Damn, this movie blows so hard if I'm getting these mixed up.
You know the reason they recast? In Iron Man 1, since Robert Downey Jr. was such damaged goods at the time before Iron Man 1, Terrence Howard, the supporting role, in quotations, was way more expensive than Robert Downey. He got paid way more than RDJ did. And so after Iron Man 1 was such a big deal, they wanted to give Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., a whole lot of more money, understandably. And Terrence Howard was going to have to take a pay cut.
Wait.
And he was like, I'm not coming back.
So this is pissing me off. You're telling me that Terrence Howard is more expensive than Don Cheadle? Because I don't believe it. Because Don Cheadle was in, like, Hotel Rwanda and real movies. And what the fuck is Terrence Howard in?
Okay, but here's the thing. Don Cheadle?
He didn't have to take a pay cut to become Rhodey.
Exactly. Plus, he's probably a little bit more smarter than Terrence Howard. Because he kind of saw the bigger picture here.
True, because he got so much money.
So fucking rich.
He has fucking action figures that are his face now and shit.
That's so fucking cool.
But okay, so
to me, the coolest part about Iron Man 3 is that it like really like breaks down Tony Stark as a character. Like it takes away everything from him, and that's the whole. I think that's the whole point That's the whole point of the whole hour-long Minnesota thing. It does kind of drag. The pacing's a little slow.
It's strange, but
it's a movie that had to happen.
Yeah, it the coolest part is seeing him, because the argument can be made by some people that what is Iron Man without the suit? But then he ends up.
He does the same thing as Iron Man 1.
He does the same thing where he's without his suit at all,
and he has to
figure out how to
He's
win.
still the technological superhuman, where he can like figure out all the stuff he needs to.
That's the coolest part of the movie. Is that it's still like that's the point of the movie.
Okay, so I'll give you that it does have the Iron Man 1 callback kind of sequence, but if the Don Cheadle switch and the back-to-back fighting robots. If that's not in this movie sucks. But okay, so next.
That's Iron Man 2.
Movie number 8. Thor: The Dark World.
Ooh, the most forgettable movie, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess we can just kind of skip over this, but this does have one thing that stands out to me that really makes me mad. So what is the darkness? What stone is that?
The stone in the movie it's called the ether.
Yeah,
it's,
the ether.
The reality gem is what it eventually becomes.
And that shit that happens in like if I remember correctly, there's like that battle when it's like they're like fighting like the elf people, and there's like everything's being kind of overtaken by the ether.
Yeah, it's like all the astrology queens out there. It's like the 9 realms of Asgard or of the world or whatever converge every so many years based on whatever the plot decides it needs. And so it's becoming time for the realms to converge and the dark elves get awakened or something.
But all this bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And so it does lead you to believe that the stone that fuels the ether is so much stronger than it ever is in any other movie. And I guess maybe you could say because it's in Asgard, like a magical realm, but like that's bullshit. How little the ether and all that stuff plays in later. When that stone is there the whole time and being used by corrupt powers, you would think that they use it the same way, but they absolutely don't.
Yeah, it's like no one ever tries to go find it after they went and drop it off at the collectors. It was hidden too good, all right?
So all of us agree.
Plot armor, bro.
Thor: The Dark World, worst movie?
Oh, it's bottom tier, man.
Yeah,
it's super forgettable.
Bottom 2 at least.
Way too much plot, not enough character.
So then the big hitters come, and we get to Captain America, the fucking Winter Soldier.
Oh, good.
Ooh. Thank you, Joe and Anthony
Incredible movie. The movie that really brings the plot to really start and mash together.
This was a really legitimate movie. Like, it's a really good movie.
This is the first Marvel movie that I left going, wow.
Yeah, this was what I would kind of argue is the first Marvel movie besides maybe Iron Man 1 that was a great film.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it was shot so fucking well, and it has the boom scene.
Yeah.
When he stops the shield.
Bryce is showing Winter Soldier catching the shield.
That is literally, if I think of Captain America, so all I could think of is how many people Captain America killed throwing that fucking adamantium shield.
That fucking elevator scene.
Boom! He just catches that. Oh.
That was like a huge point of the movie too, I think, for the directors, is to really show that since Captain America has been taken off ice, that he Hendy's asleep. He's a real cutie pie.
He's sleeping on my back.
My dog is adorable.
So, the directors really wanted, because I mean, in Captain America: The First Avenger, he didn't really have a whole lot of fight training. So, the whole premise of this movie and his fighting style is that he's been at Shield for X amount of time. So he's learned this martial arts stuff and
because Captain America in Captain America: The First Avenger, Bucky would beat the fuck out of him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, definitely before the serum, for sure.
1940s street punk.
No, I mean, even when he's freshly gotten the serum and he's just been in battle, if he tried to fight somebody like the Winter Soldier, who's this hardened fucking monster, he'd beat his ass. But now, just like how the other guy's been trained corruptly for so long, he's had the same amount of shield training.
Yeah, combat
and
training.
This is what really shows like the shield giant ship. Like, that's in this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. These all blur together because I haven't seen these movies in fucking...
years.
Yeah, years. But this really has Nick Fury really featured in this movie.
He's in it a pretty good amount.
He's in it where he fakes his death.
He's in it more than in
I don't know how.
the Iron Man movie where it's just him and Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson talking to each other.
He's in this movie about as much as he's in the Avengers, maybe a little bit more, honestly. He's in this movie quite a bit.
He plays a bigger role
in this and the Avengers. It really those two movies together. Like, I could kind of argue that if you only watched Avengers and then into Captain America: The Winter Soldier, you'd probably have a good enough understanding.
Both of those movies do a pretty good job of like still kind of holding your hand at the beginning and telling you who the characters are.
You have more big picture standing if you've seen the other movies, especially Iron Man 1 and Captain America: The First Avenger, because you see who Hydra is, you see what Iron Man's come from and what he made this giant corporation to be. But so, Captain America: Winter Soldier, I'd probably say is top 3
for sure.
of the whole thing.
It's really good.
Might be number 1 still after everything I've seen. But so, oh man, here it comes. I didn't want it to come to this. Then we get into the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
Oh, I like Guardians.
You're saying this with such a negative connotation.
I'm ready to say some negative shit, man. So let's just say, let me hit it with this. It is gonna lead to something I don't like, but Guardians 1 is great.
Guardians 1
is phenomenal.
I can't even I remember all the Groot stuff and everything, but I do love that we see Groot like full power and then go back down later on. But so in this, I can't even remember who the bad guy in this is.
It's super generic. It's Ronan the Accuser.
Oh yeah. So
super generic.
The
and forgettable.
true first sight of the big picture, because you see Ronan being the first true visual slave to.
I mean, this is the first time you see like a big full body shot of Thanos. Like,
because you've only seen him in like post credit scenes.
The only other time it's shown him at all was at the end credits of Avengers, and it's just part of his face. Yeah,
it's just this blue fuck.
Oh, I remember seeing that before I even seen the Avengers. I saw that post credit scene, and from playing Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, I was like, holy shit, they're gonna do it. They're gonna have the gauntlet and fucking everything. That big old fuck's in this movie. And then when we see this, I swear, dude, Ronan is sitting there talking to him, and I'm sitting in the theater, and it shows Thanos, and I go, Josh Brolin? No Country for Old Men, Josh Brolin? Holy fucking shit. And I was like, oh man, star power, bitch. But, no, Guardians was good. It had big ramifications.
Yeah.
Really bringing in the big storyline. Finally, we're seeing the true essence of what the story is going to be. You're seeing that all these people, Ronan, Loki, fucking what are the aliens called? You said it? The Chitauri are all sent from a source. This
Thanos.
The Thanos, the true...
He's kind of at the center of everything.
Monster of everything.
Yes.
The Galacticus of this series. But no, this one is good. Don't get me wrong. We have Vin Diesel playing a dude who says one line.
So do you think that they thought of Vin Diesel because of the Iron Giant.
I think.
Because he did. Because Vin Diesel did the Iron Giant, right?
Oh my God.
Is that why they got him to do Groot?
They're like, who's
hey.
who's the one guy that would have enough star power to voice someone who only says one word and you still love him? And you're like, Vin Diesel, because that's the character he plays in Fast and Furious.
I love the Iron Giant so much.
I'm just picturing like a boardroom meeting of like somebody who watched the Iron Giant way too many times as a kid.
Yeah,
and they're like, we have to get Vin Diesel to do Groot.
It's
right?
30 executives and one dude who just became an executive at 24, and they're like, we need somebody to just say one line over and over, and he's like, have you ever seen this film called The Iron Giant? There's this big guy. You ever seen Saving Private Ryan? Plays the same role, only says like 4 words.
That's just how I picture it.
It's like Vin Diesel is the only person who can say 3 lines of dialogue and make you love him. Because in Iron Giant, he doesn't say much and you still love him so much. In Saving Private Ryan, he has the most heartfelt scene when he has the paper. And he's like, please give this to my dad or whatever. He's just shot again. But yeah, fuck yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy 1, fucking awesome. Hell yeah.
Really good movie, for sure.
And then, another hugely divisive, Age of Ultron. Okay.
Didn't see it.
This was
I have to stand because of how mad this is going to make me.
If you're going to stand, I'm going to stand. Oh shit, I almost fell over.
Okay,
I'll stay
so everybody, do we remember the opening sequence? Because I do. First word is shit.
Is it? They cuss in this movie?
Yeah.
They make a point of making a joke at it.
Yeah, because he says shit and then
he tells them to
Captain
watch the
America
language.
Language.
Oh.
Okay, so
That opening splash shot, though.
So, Age of Ultron, other than you seeing the real ramifications of what the Infinity Stone's power is, like creating the super being that is Ultron.
A vision? Are you?
Well, because they make.
They make Ultron themselves.
Yeah, because they make Ultron, and then Ultron, like the Ultron system and everything combined, all that bullshit becomes the Vision.
Yeah.
Okay, so all I can think about in this movie is we are introduced to the twins, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Who the fuck is Quicksilver?
The dude who dies in that movie.
The
guy who plays Kick-Ass.
It is.
What?
Yeah. He's just so handsome in this movie, and the dude in Kick-Ass.
He grew up, man.
Yeah, he was not quite handsome yet.
He
A
grew
year
up.
later, he became handsome.
Fuck. That's cool. Good for him.
He also bleaches hair.
Okay. I see you.
Okay, so then, all I'm really going to have to say about this one is this gives us Russian Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay.
Why is the Scarlet Witch not Russian in the rest of the movies?
She got tired, man.
No, I swear to God, there is a scene that is cut somewhere where the reason why Scarlett Johansson's character and the Scarlet Witch are so friends is because the Scarlet Witch and Black Widow trained together.
Yeah.
Like, she helped train her into be like a super spy, because that's what it does in the comics, and that's why she's not Russian anymore, so she can hide.
Yeah, she loses the accent.
But why doesn't it say that even once? That literally, when
She's not from Russia. She's from Sokovia.
Yeah, Sokovia. But she still has a thick-ass fucking Romanian
Eastern
accent.
European, yeah.
It's like the shit in Halo, where Halo 2, fucking Miranda Keyes has the accent, and Halo 3 she just doesn't.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think it's just one of those things.
Honestly,
Just one of those days.
Yeah.
but so the only two real talking points of this is the introduction of the Scarlet Witch, who's so important later.
Yeah.
But when I was watching it and they were taking up, like, the whole plan is Ultron's gonna take that giant crater and just push it back into the Earth and destroy all life on Earth.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the whole point of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so they stop him. But that piece of Earth still has to land.
Yeah.
And everybody that didn't get
It
on the...
didn't land. They vaporized it.
Oh, that's right. But still, this entire city is still fully destroyed. And you will see later that, like when it comes to Civil War and stuff, the ramifications of the death that is caused at this massive scale, which no other superhero franchise really goes into the true death that happens in these films. Because so many people had to die.
Dawn of Justice tried to, but well, we won't get into that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say the full name of that movie.
Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in fucking theaters. But that's the full name. But okay, Age of Ultron kind of pushes the plot along, brings in a couple characters. Kind of pretty forgettable, pretty hated by most people.
It was kind of a step they needed to take that they just took. It wasn't like... It kind of felt like they're like, we need to make this movie.
Yeah.
So
and
we're gonna
then
make it.
They took a step, but it wasn't calculated.
Talk about, we need to make this movie. Guess we'll make this movie. Ant-Man's next. Loved Ant-Man when I saw it. Don't love Ant-Man now.
I just love Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd's great. Literally, if any other person played Ant-Man franchise would have blown. Would have been terrible. Would have hated it. That character would have sucked. But Paul Rudd is able to bring that cocky, funny character that Ant-Man is, that we're familiar with. But, once again, pretty...
I love you, Mike.
Is there even an Infinity Stone in this movie?
Mm-mm.
No.
The only point of having Ant-Man in the MCU at this point is to start to establish the quantum realm.
Yep. Because it's so important.
And to introduce his characters, so when the deluxe collector's edition of Endgame comes out, we can finally see the scene that everyone wanted.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes, we
but
fucking will.
Ant-Man
Also to sell toys.
Ant-Man, pretty forgettable. Kind of a bad decision to make it so much later than the first wave.
The strangest thing is that every other phase 1 and phase 3, they end the movie with an Avengers movie. And Ant-Man was the last movie of phase 2, which is just kind of strange.
That is kind of strange.
Especially because there was an Avengers movie, like, literally right before it, yeah.
Huh. I guess they didn't think they needed it. But so then, we come to Captain America Civil War, and now that we've seen Civil War, we all know why Ant-Man was introduced.
Yeah.
But so, Civil War, pound for pound, one of the best. And introduces the true power of... introduces Spider-Man, obviously. Yeah. Introduces what Ant-Man really is. Yep. And introduces Wakanda.
Yeah.
Like the entire realm of Wakanda. Which is probably the most...
Well,
other than Thor's universe, one of the most kind of unexplained realms. Like
Wakanda was teased as an Easter egg in Iron Man 2. There's a scene in Iron Man 2 where Nick Fury's still trying to recruit Tony Stark for the Avengers initiative, and there's a map of the world on this map, and it has like locations of just random stuff, and there's like a little thing in the center of Africa. There's also another kind of like point of interest in the ocean, hinting at Namor the Submariner, which is like Marvel's Aquaman. Yeah. So that's been looming since whenever Iron Man 2 came out. Yeah.
Thinking about the MCU's Aquaman makes me thank God that Deadpool is not in this fucking series. I would be so mad. Oh man, Deadpool breaks so many rules. We're
Deadpool.
Straight up not talking about that. But,
Civil War.
But so Civil War has some of the coolest sequences, has really heartfelt parts where you have the first truly human villain that's just a guy whose life was so wretched by the loss that the needless civilian casualties happened in Age of Ultron, that it would drive someone like that. And you have the first very, very human supervillain who isn't even really super. He doesn't do anything. Yeah. He just is a terrorist.
He gets really lucky.
Yeah, and
he's like, hey, this plan's working really well.
Oh my god, this series would be so different if Captain America was not allowed to stop Iron Man from killing Bucky.
So, the really cool part about Civil War is the Russos, directed Iron Man or Captain America 2, Civil War, and then Endgame and Infinity War. Yeah. And the writers for Captain America, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, they were kind of noticing that that Civil War was kind of a point in time where Iron Man and Captain America, they were on two separate journeys and Civil War was where they were crossing paths. So Iron Man was on this journey from a super selfish person to becoming somebody who was learning how to be selfless.
Yeah.
And Captain America was on this journey from becoming somebody who was super selfless and completely like subservient to others, like at heart, and was
truly
learning
human.
Was learning how to kind of be selfish and kind of have his life. And
sure.
so you have Civil War is this crossing point where they're both learning this lesson, and
where
it's starting to come to a head.
You have both of their feelings as humans playing such a huge part in a worldwide disaster scenario where you have people who can destroy the whole world, and their personal feelings as humans are making it a problem, which is awesome. And Black Panther being able to chase cars on foot might be a little racist.
He's so bro, it's that flower.
He's on it forever, bro.
He's so fast.
Man, it did not yet acknowledge that Wakanda has the like the, what's that shit called? The special metal?
Vibranium.
To where he can like take like the craziest hits.
Yeah.
And it just like doesn't even matter. But I guess it's just because it's vibranium. But like, if you got hit with Captain America's shield, if your fucking chest is made of the same metal, it should probably still kill you. But vibranium can't impact vibranium, I guess.
The whole like problem with Iron Man and Black Panther is like, it's like it wouldn't hurt the metal, but there's a human underneath it that still feels the force. And so it's gonna hit.
If Thor hits you with Mjolnir, you're still getting hit with like the power of 1,000 thunderbolts.
Your body is essentially in this metal box, and if you're gonna get hit at the front side of the box by something, your body's gonna hit the back of the box. So if you get punched in the head while you're in this metal thing, it's like your head's gonna rattle at least some point in that helmet, right?
Okay, so what is the explanation why Captain America can't be killed?
I mean, he can be
like kind of superhuman.
He can be killed.
Well, but he can like take an insane amount of damage.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Age of Ultron, there's literally a scene, we could go watch it right now, halfway through, where Captain America, in a fist fight with the Age of Ultron clones, gets punched in the fucking mouth from a vibranium.
Well, the pawns aren't made of vibranium. They're made of some other metal.
Okay.
Only Ultron's final form is actually vibranium.
Unobtainium.
Fuck it, titanium. He takes a titanium punch to the mouth. Boom, from a fucking robot. A robot titanium punch. It doesn't fuck him up. He gets back up. That is, I guess maybe that's like the first sight into that he's...
But he can do this all
on
day.
the same level as Thor. Like, he doesn't obey man-made law, which he should.
Yeah.
He should be out of commission for a little while.
A man.
Just like fucking Wolverine. Wolverine survives a nuclear blast and it makes him sick.
Yeah.
You should take a robot punch to the mouth and be out of commission for a couple minutes, for fuck's sake. But, so anyway, Civil War's awesome. It has the amazing 5v5 fight sequence.
The airport sequence, man.
The airport sequence is badass.
The only gripe I have with the airport sequence is just in some of the dialogue. Like, Spider-Man is so obviously such a huge Star Wars nerd, but he's like, have you seen that really old movie? With the thingies, it's like, why wouldn't he know what they're called and what the movie's called? You know what I mean? Like,
why are you telling me that any nerd on Earth doesn't know the exact name and minute that sequence is? Film?
Like he builds a straight up Lego Death Star in the next movie that he's in, but he doesn't want to like name that it's called an AT-AT and like it's, you know what I mean? Like,
thank you for saying AT-AT. That's the correct pronunciation.
He is talking like he's saying...
That's the only gripe I have.
A quote from Casablanca from 100 years ago when that movie came out 30 years ago. Like, fuck. But, okay. Civil War, great. And then, I didn't even see this movie. I don't even fucking care to this day. Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I didn't fucking see it.
It's a fun movie. There's some cool shots in that movie. That movie has some cool shots.
All I remember
I still
is
like
that
Benedict Cumberbatch.
You don't like Benedict?
I do not.
Oh man.
yeah, no.
He's got a weird face.
Does a Jimmy Fallon skit with him where they do it's called Kid Theater? Oh man, it's worth checking out for sure. It's hilarious.
But yeah, so I don't really have too much to say about Doctor Strange. I know it brings in the Time Stone?
Time Stone.
Yeah,
Introduces a Time Stone.
The people who protect the Time Stone.
I think that's
and his mentor,
the ancient one.
the ancient one, the bald lady.
Yeah.
People are mad that she was a woman. People wanted it to be an old Chinese man.
It literally it doesn't matter. I think that's why they picked a lady and had her be bald.
Yeah.
And in a gi, basically.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
It just full on degenders because it doesn't matter because this is a person like the overseers, the people who are featured, like that's what Stan Lee's character is supposed to be, one of the Watchers. The Watchers. Like she's kind of one of them because when it shows them in that one sequence in Infinity War when they're like flying through the realms, and it has Stan Lee talking to the Watchers.
That's in Doctor Strange.
Okay, that's in Doctor Strange.
I think.
No, because I've seen this scene. It's in
maybe Guardians 2.
Guardians 2 because they're like flying through the universes, and then it has him talking, and the Ancient One looks like one of them. It's just like a bald, almost unhuman-looking person.
Yeah,
but
just kind of genderless.
But
that's the whole point.
Instead, they had the lady who played the White Witch, who is just like,
oh shit, that was her.
Yeah, that is her. But the fuck gender bullshit. It doesn't matter. It's the same character. Who fucking cares?
Who cares?
But anyway,
there's such a cool sequence in that movie. Like the whole acid trip scene in that movie is really, really good.
Fuck, wouldn't know.
Do you think they actually made the camera trip acid for the scene?
They no cameras tripped acid in the making of this movie.
Good.
Oh, I was full on a year into college when this came out. I didn't give a fuck about going to see the fucking wizard movie. But so then a movie I did see with a bunch of friends from college, Guardians 2. And holy mother of fuck, the only movie I can think of from the MCU where the dialogue sucks.
It's pretty bad.
Hard. And you have I can't even think of
I didn't see Guardians.
Kurt Russell's name. But he's the living planet.
Ego the living planet.
Ego the living planet. The fact that all of these people fight him when they're on Ego, they're on his planet. Yeah. It's insane. It's bullshit. Shouldn't even be a fight.
The whole existence of this movie is you gotta suspend some disbelief here. Come on,
suspend disbelief.
Look at Rocket.
This is nitpicking, man.
Look at Drax. It's just Batista in blue paint.
No, but I think this is probably one of the most unnecessary films in the whole thing. It pushes along characters who need their stories pushed along because if this movie didn't exist, you wouldn't have the most angering part of Infinity War. But we'll get to that. But Quill, you needed Quill's story to be intense and have a lot of weight to it. For Infinity War.
Guardians 2 is the prettiest Marvel movie ever shot. Without a doubt.
I can think back to when the Drax and I can't think of her name, the Ant Girl?
Mantis.
When their storyline, their kind of love storyline is kind of there for a little bit. Yeah. When they're talking at his courtyard of his temple or whatever, that is the most beautiful, amazing. They're looking out at the landscape and the fact that that's all fake is badass from a movie standpoint. Absolutely, that is beautiful. But I definitely also say from a movie standpoint, this sucks the most because it stands on fragile ass ground from a broad spectrum.
To me, one of the most not off-putting, but kind of just really takes you out of it is how obvious it is that they just completely played up Drax. Because Drax in Guardians 1 was hilarious because he was used sparingly. Yeah. But then they saw Drax is really funny. Let's make him really funny all the time, and then it's not funny.
Yeah. I definitely agree with what you're saying about Drax because I kind of feel like that's a lot of what Guardians was that they kind of realized that this could be the more fun, kind of whimsical, kind of slapstick series. Because it's, I mean, inherently the characters are a little ridiculous and kind of funny. So having
you got
Drax,
a tree and a fucking raccoon.
because you did have Drax, who was like
it.
Drax and Groot, basically, were like the best comic relief the series had.
Yeah.
And so when they saw how funny Dave Bautista was as Drax, they just leaned into it way too hard on Guardians 2, and definitely leaned in way too hard on the campy, funny dialogue throughout all of Guardians 2, which, I mean, there's a lot of shit that's just weird and campy about it. Like, the whole sequence when they're on the Marauders ship, and, like, the, like, laser needle is, like, killing everyone.
Yeah. And it's just a slow motion, like...
It's just
what songs playing during that?
Oh, I don't.
Some old Guardians
so
of the
many
Galaxy
like
song,
old 80s, 90s fucking songs playing throughout this. There's a reason. I mean, this sold hella soundtracks. So
Yes, it did.
I mean, Guardians brought in a big old revenue stream with having Baby Groot and the big soundtrack. Like, don't get me wrong, but I am Groot. However, I see where the movie needed to be. I don't quite enjoy it at all.
So this movie, definitely with its flaws, but the ending being as solid as it is, doesn't make up for it, but it makes it
sense,
worth it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can see a movie with like some tons of flaws in it, but to me, if it's a so-so movie, but the ending is really what kind of like defines the movie as like watchable or not, or like rewatchable or not, but. Like
Episode 3 of Star Wars.
The ending of Guardians 2, man, it'll still make me cry every once in a while because they did not build Yondu up in the first movie to be somebody to care about at all.
Yeah.
But somehow over the course of this movie, when Yondu dies, it's the saddest thing because it's this whole idea, like that's the whole idea of the movie is fathership and Peter Quill not knowing his father and realizing that he had a father even though he didn't know one, and Rocket not really knowing what to do without a father figure.
Yeah.
And it's just the way they tie that whole story in and wrap it up at the end, man, it's really beautiful.
I mean, I can agree that this is one of the movies that has the best, like, single movie character development of seeing the entire, almost the entire development of Yondu, because he's just
he's just a prick in the first.
Yeah, he's just your average marauding bounty hunter in the first one.
Space
you see his heart in this, and you see his depth in this, which is great as a movie. So I guess with its flaws, it is still rather solid.
Rocket 2, I would say, has one of the better character arcs in this movie.
Yeah, truly seeing Rocket grow. Yeah, maybe this does, in the side characters part, have a good deal of development, but the whole Peter Quill shit, I maybe hate that Chris Pratt played it. Like,
yeah,
I just don't like Peter Quill, and maybe I hate the character, and maybe you're kind of supposed to because he is such a wrench in the story.
Yeah,
but okay, so
that's Guardians 2.
That's Guardians 2, and here's where for the first time we're gonna call a half point right here at Guardians 2, where we're gonna talk about the latter parts of the MCU in a second part of the series. Back with Caleb again, and this is just so much more to talk about than we usually have. Exactly. So with this being kind of the first time we've done an overview,
24 movies,
yeah,
20 shitty one.
Yeah, instead of ragging on a movie, we're really talking in depth on an entire universe. So we're gonna call it here. Everybody have a good night. This was 3 on 1.